Welcome to Headline Hub Updates. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. Tonight, breaking news from the South China Sea, a discovery that could reshape the region's future. The Philippines has uncovered a secret Chinese structure at Scarborough Shoal, igniting global headlines and raising the stakes in a long-simmering conflict. A Filipino patrol, on a routine mission, found more than just debris. It was a partially submerged structure, with markings suggesting a clandestine operation. This isn't just another incident, it's evidence of a possible long-term strategy by Beijing to alter the geography of the shoal. Scarborough Shoal, Panatag to Filipinos, Huangyandao to the Chinese, is a tiny triangular chain of reefs, but it's become one of the world's most dangerous flashpoints. For years, China has pushed out Filipino fishermen and established a near-permanent presence. Now this new discovery hints at ambitions beyond control, possibly building and fortifying the shoal. Manila calls it a grave escalation and a direct threat to its sovereignty. The international community is watching closely, with Washington reaffirming its security commitments and regional powers voicing concern. The situation is tense. A single miscalculation could trigger a conflict with global consequences. Tonight, we'll unpack what was found, why it matters, and what it means for the future of this volatile region. The story is pieced together from official reports, satellite imagery, and sources on the ground. It's a tale of deception and defiance, with the Philippines determined to expose Beijing's actions. The implications are immense, not just for the Philippines, but for the entire world. Scarborough Shoal is no longer just a disputed reef. It's a symbol of a larger struggle for control in the South China Sea. As tensions rise, the world waits to see what happens next. The stakes have never been higher. Stay with us. What did the Philippine Coast Guard actually find? Initial reports spoke of debris, but the truth is more intriguing. The object is a large, rusted metallic platform, remnants of a U.S. Navy target tower from decades ago, long before China's claims. This relic is a physical reminder of a time when the shoal was part of joint U.S.-Philippine military exercises. But the real story is what's happening now. Philippine sources allege Chinese vessels were seen modifying or building on this old structure. The theory? Beijing is using the existing foundation to secretly start construction, incrementally, under the radar. It's a classic gray zone tactic, using ambiguity to advance strategic goals without triggering a direct military response. If proven, this would be a clear breach of China's promise not to militarize the South China Sea. The discovery exposes a potential deception and a calculated effort to change the status quo at Scarborough Shoal. For the Philippines, it's not just about an old piece of metal, it's about uncovering a secret plan that threatens national security. The stakes are high, and the world is watching. This relic has become the centerpiece of a new geopolitical struggle. The question now, will this evidence be enough to rally international action? The answer could shape the region's future. Why is Scarborough Shoal so important? Its location, just 124 nautical miles from Luzon, places it well within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. For Filipino fishermen, it's a vital source of livelihood and heritage. But beyond fishing, the shoal is a strategic jewel. If China builds a military outpost here, it completes a strategic triangle with its bases in the Paracels and Spratlys, giving Beijing control over the entire South China Sea. This would allow China to monitor and potentially choke off one of the world's busiest shipping lanes. Nearly a third of global maritime trade passes through these waters. For the Philippines, the military implications are dire. A Chinese base would put Manila and key military sites within range of Chinese missiles. That's why Manila cannot accept a permanent Chinese presence. It's an existential threat. The discovery of a possible construction project is alarming not just for the Philippines, but for the entire region. Control of Scarborough Shoal is about more than rocks and reefs. It's about trade, power projection, and the future of Asia's geopolitical map. The fight for Scarborough Shoal is a fight for the region's future. Every move here sets a precedent for the rest of the South China Sea. The stakes are enormous, and the world is paying attention. This is a high-stakes chess game on the open ocean. The next move could change everything. The world is watching. Who controls Scarborough Shoal right now? Legally, the Philippines has rights under international law, but on the water, China dominates. Since 2012, China has maintained a de facto blockade, with Coast Guard and militia vessels sealing off the shoal's inner lagoon. Filipino fishermen face constant harassment, often chased away or blocked by larger Chinese ships. The Philippine Coast Guard tries to assert its presence, but is outmatched by China's overwhelming force. It's an asymmetrical struggle, rights versus might. The shoal is a gray zone, no shots fired, but a daily battle for control. China holds the physical advantage, but the Philippines refuses to concede. Manila continues to challenge the blockade, assert its legal rights, and expose Beijing's actions. The standoff is a powder keg. One incident could shift the balance. Scarborough Shoal remains a contested space, with the world watching every move. The struggle for control is far from over. The conflict isn't just on the water, it's also in the courts. In 2013, the Philippines took China to international arbitration under UNCLOS, challenging Beijing's sweeping claims. The 2016 Hague Tribunal delivered a landmark ruling. China's 9-dash line has no legal basis, and Scarborough Shoal is a traditional fishing ground for all. The court found China had unlawfully restricted Filipino fishermen and violated international law. While sovereignty wasn't decided, the ruling gave the Philippines powerful legal and moral leverage. Manila's position is now backed by international law, not just national claims. The ruling is the cornerstone of the Philippines' fight for its maritime rights. It transformed the dispute into a global legal issue. The Hague decision remains a critical weapon in Manila's diplomatic arsenal, but legal victories don't always change realities on the water. How did China respond to its legal defeat? With outright defiance, Beijing rejected the tribunal's authority, calling the ruling null and void. On the water, China doubled down. Its Coast Guard and militia presence at Scarborough Shoal only increased. The blockade became more entrenched, as if the ruling never happened. China continues to operate on its own terms, ignoring the international legal order it once pledged to uphold. The Philippines and the world face a dilemma. There's no global police to enforce the ruling. The power of the decision lies in its legitimacy and the reputational cost of ignoring it. China seems willing to bear that cost, betting on its growing power. This defiance has defined the conflict ever since. The Hague victory was moral and legal, but didn't change the facts on the water. Scarborough Shoal is now a symbol of the clash between rules and raw power. The world is left to grapple with the consequences. Recently, the standoff has escalated into open aggression. Chinese vessels now use water cannons and physical blockades against Filipino boats, causing damage and risking injury. These incidents are frequent and brazen, often caught on camera by the Philippine Coast Guard. China's tactics include dangerous maneuvers and new regulations allowing detention of foreigners in disputed waters. This lawfare is part of Beijing's strategy to legitimize its actions and intimidate Filipino fishermen. Tensions are at a breaking point. A single incident could trigger rapid escalation. The Philippines accuses China of violating maritime safety rules, but Beijing presses on. Each confrontation brings the region closer to a direct clash. How is the Philippines responding? With assertive transparency. The Coast Guard now embeds journalists on patrols, releasing footage of Chinese aggression to the world within hours. This transparency trap puts Beijing on the defensive, exposing the gap between its rhetoric and actions. Manila is also strengthening alliances, deepening ties with the US, Japan, Australia, and others. The goal: build a coalition to uphold a rules-based order and freedom of navigation. Diplomacy and legal victories are central to Manila's strategy. At every forum, Filipino diplomats invoke the 2016 Hague ruling. The combination of transparency, alliances, and law is Manila's asymmetric answer to China's power. It's a long game, but the Philippines is determined to win. The world is taking notice. The fight is as much about narrative as it is about territory. Beyond geopolitics, this conflict is about people. Filipino fishermen losing their livelihoods and risking their lives. For them, Scarborough Shoal is survival, not just a spot on a map. Their struggle has become a symbol of national pride and sovereignty in the Philippines. Public demand for government action is stronger than ever. The fight for Scarborough Shoal is now a national cause, uniting a generation. Globally, the stakes are huge. If powerful nations can ignore international law, what's to stop others from doing the same? That's why countries like the US, Japan, and Australia support the Philippines. The discovery of the old US Tower and China's alleged construction have raised the stakes. The risk of escalation remains high. One incident could spark a wider crisis. Scarborough Shoal is now the epicenter of a global struggle between law and force. The world is watching, and the future of this vital waterway hangs in the balance. The next chapter is unwritten. The stakes could not be higher.